Watch more programs like this on cable and stream with PCN Select. Subscribe at PCNTV.com.
My name is Major General Abner Doubleday. On the 1st of July, 1863, I'm a career Army officer. I'm 44 years old. I'm in my 21st year of service. I'm one of several generals in the Army of the Potomac who are what I call Old Army. I graduated from West Point in 1842. I actually served in Mexico, served in Florida, and most famously during my time, I was actually part of the siege at Fort Sumter, which began the war. And I was well known, I was able to procure general officer rank and positioning through that notoriety. In late June 1863, I am commanding 3rd Division of John Fulton Reynolds' 1st Corps. The day before the battle, on the 30th of June, General Reynolds summoned me to his headquarters and informed me that General Meade, the new Army of the Potomac commander, had appointed him commander of the left wing of the Army. That included General Reynolds' own 1st Corps, the 3rd Corps, and General Howard's 11th Corps. So because I was the senior division commander, he asked me at that time, the night before the battle, to assume command of the Corps. We had been positioned on the 30th of June, just a couple miles north of Emmitsburg along Marsh Creek, south of Gettysburg. I was summoned again to General Reynolds' headquarters at about 7 o'clock in the morning. He had received many communications from General Buford and told me he was going to take General Wadsworth's division, the 1st Division of the Corps, forward and relieve the pressure being felt by General Buford at that time, that morning. He instructed me to get the remainder of the Corps on the road and to engage at that location north and west of Gettysburg. I did that very quickly. As soon as I had 2nd Division under General Robinson and 3rd Division, my 3rd Division, I appointed General Rowley to be commander. As soon as they were ready to start order of march, I took my staff and with all possible haste proceeded north to the battlefield. When I heard the cannon fire, I knew I was close. I sent forward my aide, Lieutenant Martin, to find General Reynolds. He found General Reynolds. I received word back that General Reynolds wanted me to take the 2nd of 2 brigades of General Wadsworth's division, that's the Iron Brigade, the Western soldiers, and position them to the left of the Chambersburg Pike in what's called Herbst Woods, a position that we thought would be rather easy to defend on that side of the battlefield. Actually, that was around 10:15 when I had arrived. I was actually working with the Iron Brigade to position them in Herbst Woods. As you know, that Iron Brigade went down to Willoughby Run and surprised General Archer's brigade and actually routed them. Was able to capture 2/3 of that brigade, to include Archer himself. This was all happening simultaneously at around 10:15 when General Cutler was actually involved with the attack on Hall's battery, the attack on the 147th New York, who had remained in the railroad cut. Around this same time, we received word that General Reynolds had been killed. At that moment, not only was I already commander of 1st Corps, I was actually the senior commander of those present from the Army on the battlefield at that time. I had kept the 6th Wisconsin from the Iron Brigade in reserve back at the seminary. I deployed them forward, and they, along with the 14th Brooklyn and the 95th New York, were able to engage the Confederates and enable the 147th to move back as far as Oak Ridge, and they continued to fire into that line. And they even had captured one of Hall's guns that he had lost. At the conclusion of the deployment of the 6th Wisconsin in rescue of the 147th. The battlefield did die down a little bit. It came around 11 o'clock. We knew that early elements of Richard Baldy Ewell's Corps were coming from the northwest and the north to the town of Gettysburg, to the left of A.P. Hill's Corps troops, which we had been engaging all morning. Once General Howard arrived with the 11th Corps at 11, he became the senior commander on the field, and we, through messenger, were able to communicate that he needed to deploy the 11th Corps northwest and north of the town of Gettysburg to prepare for that onslaught of Ewell's divisions, specifically Rhodes and Jubal Early. They did so in the period between 11 and 1 o'clock. One of the problems which came to be an issue later was that 11th Corps' left flank left as much as a quarter-mile hole between that flank and General Cutler's right flank, our Corps right flank. So one of the first things I did when around 1 o'clock, the arrival of the 2nd Division, General Robinson Division, I actually deployed one of his brigades under Baxter to the right of General Cutler to help close some of that gap. There was still about 400 yards gap between that flank and the left flank at the 11th Corps at that time. It was about around this time, around 2 o'clock, that the battlefield warmed up once again. One of the brigades under Rhodes, specifically Iverson, some North Carolina folks, actually attacked Cutler and Baxter, and I was able to deploy in support of that the other brigade under Paul from the 2nd Division to shore up that line. The 3rd Division, my division under General Rowley, actually I deployed to beef up the center of our line between the right flank of the Iron Brigade and the left flank of the troops of Cutler's brigade, specifically the 95th New York and the 14th Brooklyn and the 6th Wisconsin were all in line at that point. This is how we received increasing numbers of pressure points left and right of the line from 2 o'clock through to about 4:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30. It was a matter of trying to plug a hole, turning front, beating back an assault from both A.P. Hill soldiers as well as those of Ewell. It was around 4 o'clock that we discovered that the pressure from Ewell on the 11th Corps soldiers in the north was so great that they had begun their retrograde movement through the town of Gettysburg back to where General Howard had his headquarters, and that was Cemetery Hill. We maintained that position, as I thought General Reynolds' intent was when he positioned the Corps there in the morning. We maintained that position. We actually took a final line with support of both artillery and cavalry, Gamble's division, Gamble's brigade, over at the seminary itself. So we actually were being enveloped left and right by the Confederates by the time 4:30 came around, and it was at that point we ordered everyone to start moving back under covering fire from some of the regiments through the town of Gettysburg, which we had not moved through to arrive at the battlefield. We had arrived at the battlefield just to the west of Gettysburg. We did not know the town. In spite of that, the soldiers actually moved in relatively good order. We did run into some 11th Corps folks still moving back from the battlefield, and we actually met General Howard and by that time General Hancock on Cemetery Hill. And it was there that General Hancock, by order of General Meade, as he informed us, was now the senior commander on the field by virtue of that appointment. Even though General Howard outranked him, and General Howard had a little bit of a problem with that for a few minutes, but he finally acquiesced, and it was General Hancock that positioned us. My particular corps ended up just to the west of Cemetery Hill, and the 11th Corps was in line to the left of us. It was at that point that the assaults actually abated from the Confederates, and we were able to consolidate for the night. And with that, that basically ended the action on day one of Gettysburg.